Well, the chef has given you a few additional freebies yesterday in the form of a few flurries with our Arctic front that has passed through. Now, colder temperatures are coming, and that is going to lead to a wintry mix starting on Thursday and continuing at least a day beyond that. I will be taking a look at all this in tonight's update. I'm meteorologist Tanis Leach, and as always, I will start with the National Weather Service's watches and warnings. A cold weather advisory is up for tonight and tomorrow night, so Tuesday morning and Tuesday night into Wednesday morning for pretty much anywhere in the Portland National Weather Service's area of responsibility. On top of that, there is an extreme cold watch up, while it's not explicitly shown here, for the eastern portions of the Portland metro area, the Columbia River Gorge, the Cascade Foothills, and the northern Oregon coast range and southern Washington coast range because of the colder temperatures and in the case of the gorge, stronger winds, bringing that wind chill temperature down. So, let's take a look at what this Arctic front is and how it was able to produce some surprise snow showers. So, as this Arctic front sagged southwards through our area, slowly right around dinner time, that produced some moisture as the air to the south of it was warmer, and while it wasn't moist from a system, it was more moist than the drier, colder air from above that. And now that this front has passed through, that is ushering in all the cold air above it. So temperatures east of the Cascades are generally in the teens or the 20s as of 2 a.m. on Tuesday morning. I do expect that to drop further, and of course, higher elevations are even colder. So it's a little bit difficult to pinpoint the Arctic front or even if the Arctic front's going to produce any snow because I didn't think that there was enough left with this Arctic front to produce any sort of flurries. Obviously, I was incorrect in that assessment, though there were no accumulations and all the impacts were pretty much just conversational snow in this front. All right, now that that's over, onto our true setup for this event. Really, not much has changed in terms of how this low pressure system is going to evolve and come up towards us. I still expect it to make landfall somewhere around Reedsport. Some models do want to stall that low not too long after landfall or just before landfall and have it slide up the coast range. If that happens, that would increase the threat of freezing rain as the winds would never shift in the South Valley in the middle of the atmosphere from a southerly wind to a northerly wind because ahead of the low pressure system, all the winds rotate counterclockwise. And in the lower levels, you're going to get that gorge outflow because of how strong it is. But in the middle of the atmosphere, you don't get that as much. So that is what I'm expecting for Thursday. If that low pressure system moves further east, then that would change the winds in the middle atmosphere to a more northerly component, which would cool the atmosphere back down and pose a change back over to snow. So, my forecast notes, there are still uncertainty on the precipitation form and amount in the Portland metro area to make an accurate snowfall forecast. However, it does look to be trending more towards a snow to sleet to snow setup because I do expect it to, while maybe stalling for a little bit, eventually trending east. So, kind of a hybrid of these two scenarios. As a result, I'm going to just call this a lasagna of snow, ice, snow. I also expect that beyond the Portland metro area, cold air damming may result in some areas along the coast range to have this type of setup where you could be in that snow, sleet, snow setup rather than just pure freezing rain, especially the further north you are. Now, the deeper you are into the Willamette Valley does increase that freezing rain likelihood, as does the closer you are to the Cascades. Also, because this is a backdoor cold setup, there will be significant cold east winds, not as strong as what happened last January, but gusts getting into the 30s, maybe the lower 40s for areas closer to the Columbia River Gorge, and wind chills will be down in the single digits. So please wear your coats. Models do tend to scour out the cold air in the Portland area too quickly in these patterns. And from what I'm seeing in these forecast models, on top of that, it does look like that the actual pattern that would scour out may have been delayed about 12 hours. So I've adjusted accordingly on my 7-day forecast. So onto our 7-day forecast for the South Willamette Valley. High temperatures of 41 degrees the next 2 days with a low temperature of 19 degrees tonight into tomorrow morning. And then on Thursday, high temperature of 36 with a wintry mix expected. I do for the South Valley lean that to be freezing rain with a 70% chance versus about a 50% chance of seeing snowfall. Corvallis has a higher chance of seeing snow or sleet compared to Eugene, which I do anticipate that to be more in the freezing rain category, at least while it stays below 32, and then just cold rain when it does get above 32, and then Salem probably somewhere between Eugene and Corvallis. Remember, Salem does not see as big of an effect from cold air damming because of its position halfway between the Coast Range and the Cascade foothills. On Friday, as it cools back down below freezing, I do anticipate most areas that do see leftover precipitation to see snow flurries on Friday morning before warming up, and that would be just lingering rain showers. Though Friday afternoon does look to be pretty dry right now. High temperature around 40 degrees. Saturday, southerly winds come back to the South Willamette Valley with high temperatures in the mid 40s before jumping up further on Sunday to the mid 50s and just a slight pullback on Monday. Moving on to the Portland metro area, high temperature 41 degrees today before cooling off to 39 degrees tomorrow. And on Thursday and Friday, steady temperatures around 33 degrees. And again, for PDX proper, I anticipate that to start as snow before transitioning into sleet Thursday evening, and then transitioning back into snow for the leftover precipitation Friday morning. For areas closer towards the South Metro area, that will transition over to sleet earlier, and especially in the Southeast Metro area, freezing rain is a possibility. Have the probabilities reversed compared to the South Willamette Valley in terms of my chances of snow versus freezing rain. On Friday, I still expect, like the South Valley, that afternoon and evening hours to be drier, but I can't rule out a wintry mix to pop up, at least in isolated areas. Saturday, showers move back in earlier in the morning with a chance of freezing rain being pretty high, especially in the gorge outflow areas, though significantly less for Washington and Clackamas counties before transitioning back into just plain old rain, and the southerlies finally break through on Sunday with a high temperature around 47 degrees and warming up back to normal on Monday with highs in the low 50s. So that's going to be it for this video. Tomorrow will be my snow total forecast regardless of how uncertain things look, and the timeline will return as well. So until then, stay safe out there and take care.